so ridiculous. There is also two videos that I've been meaning to watch specifically on this issue for those who are who have lives, who haven't been paying attention to like Ethan Klein's behavior over the last 2 years or so, almost 3 years now. One is Kaya's Corner. Right? Is it Kaya's Corner, the fan channel that made a video about the true legacy of Ethan Klein? Is that? And then there's also the Kilotonics video that's very good as well. The Kilotonics one actually covers a lot of the other bad faith actors. It's 4 hours long though, almost. The Hassan Bad video. That one covers like, this one is more so focused on Hassan Bad, the Weasley Little Liar Awards. It more so covers the entirety of the commentary sphere and like a lot of the Ethan Klein's like allies and orbiters, and how they just have for the last 3 years deployed the fuck Hassan route every single time they've been outed as like sex criminals or perverts or pedophiles or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like there is an entire genre of content creators out there that constantly get into trouble, sometimes legal trouble, sometimes trouble in the courts. And anytime their audience is like, what the fuck are you doing? This is insane. They'll be like, well, Hassan is worse. Also known as the Epstein method. It's a parachute for some of the worst scumbags on the internet who have absolutely destroyed the commentary sphere. These guys aren't exactly fans of mine either, like the Kilotonics guy. They're not. I don't think that they're fans of mine at all. And they certainly used to be haters of mine for the longest time. I think many of these guys actually come from the Destiny Orbiter community, and they used to be orbiters of Destiny, and then they realized that he was a real piece of shit who was kind of using the fuck Hassan method to get away with doing actual fucking criminal shit. Bro, check my logs. I've been trying to show you. This explains how this genre of slop tubers came about. Oh, this is how to radicalize a slop tuber. I've seen this by Data Mail. Yeah. The Kilotonics video is insane. I never knew you had more villains in your rogues gallery than Batman and Spider-Man combined. Yeah. I do. Here, let's just watch this a little bit. Let's get a little taste of this. We're not going to watch the whole thing. It's impossible.
All right, so if you've used the internet at any point in the last few years, it means at one time or another, you've probably heard the name Hassan Piker. Hassan, who also goes by Hasanabi, is 34 years old. He's one of online politics' largest creators, and he's known for taking controversial far-left positions and being very tall.
You are tall. He's a tall guy. Bye.
Hassan is best summarized as being very passionately progressive, anti-capitalist, pro-Palestinian, and overall just having somewhat radical takes that go against the grain. And he can occasionally make comments that have a tendency to make a lot of people very upset.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it. We fucking totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit. We did.
Over the duration of his career online, while he does have some support around him, Hassan has gradually become public enemy #1 for a lot of creators and their fan bases. He draws some pretty intense criticism from not just the right, but also the left. And lately, he's even becoming more and more of a regular target for a bunch of apolitical idiot slop channels.
Hey, Hassan, you crying stupid bitch. Brother, you are the biggest piece of shit I have ever seen. Shut your fucking mouth.
The attacks on Hassan range from him encouraging violence, to him being an anti-Semite, to him simply being kind of stupid, which is probably kind of true.
I don't know which is which, dude. Doesn't know where Yemen is? I think... Nope. This is literally a video about my critics making ridiculous claims and him unironically using me joking that was then taken seriously by Epstein, who probably knew that I was joking at the time, but still used this as an example. I still remember this. There was I fake accidentally couldn't find where Turkey is. Of course I'm fucking joking. You didn't think about that? I clicked on Turkey, the country that I'm from, that I lived in for the first 18 years of my life. I was baiting my fucking chat.
Nope. Got it.
Now, this video is not really about debunking every argument against him, but a lot of the attacking is coming from pretty dishonest places. Like the time...
It's so crazy, man. I can't even fucking... Even a video that's like supposed to take a critical lens, still, that's how much staying power hater narratives have on the internet. That's how much staying power it has. Bro, before that video, before that me fucking around on stream, I had written extensively about the crisis in Yemen, like years prior to that. That's crazy. Been a fan for 6 years, didn't know what that was the context of that clip. It blows my mind. Getting the treatment of a woman not being able to make jokes. I know. I mean, that's besides the point. For the record, like, that's obviously not that serious. Who cares? But it is kind of wild that, like, even a video that's supposed to take like a 4-hour, very critical approach to like what my fucking haters have developed around me as this mythology of a stupid guy who is also very bad and a dangerous terrorist, still ends up falling for it. You know what I mean?
People claimed that Hasan urged his viewers to kill U.S. Senator Rick Scott. Here's what he said.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott.
This clip got Hasan suspended, and many to this day claim that he was issuing a death threat towards a U.S. senator. The issue there is that Hasan is clearly talking to U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who's making remarks about how much he wants to combat Medicare fraud.
The reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party.
So Hasan is clearly saying, Mike Johnson, if you actually cared about Medicare fraud, you'd do the opposite of what you've done with Rick Scott because of how egregious of an offender he is. Rick Scott is pretty well known for conducting one of the largest healthcare fraud schemes in U.S. history when he was chief executive at Columbia. So to say Hasan was urging his viewers to kill Rick Scott is an outright lie. And to say it was any kind of death threat would also be pretty fucking stupid. So that's just one example of what are very common dishonest attacks on Hasan. There are, of course, genuine criticisms to be made about him, and we'll go over a few of them later. But those tend to get lost in this sea of total hysteria. The widespread derangement that people have for this guy has over time...
Let me guess, the genuine criticisms are also still going to be like mostly base-boosted hater critiques, rich socialism, dog abuser, lives a lavish lifestyle, which is directly contradictory to his advocacy. Yeah, I wrote about fucking Yemen in 2016, years prior to that fucking meme, dude. What's going on in Yemen and why aren't we talking about U.S. involvement? That's like 3 years before that meme of me being like, oh, where's Yemen? Mobile chatter here, bro. I watched a pseudoscience debunker clown on you for supposedly being a fan of Dr. Zhang. Oh my God.
Devolved into attacks on anyone he associates with, calls for him to be deplatformed, and people have even become pretty chill with the US government violating Hasan's First Amendment rights. No, I'm not saying you can't dislike the guy, I don't give a shit. The dude preaches socialism and drives a Porsche. Like, I get it. I'm not a Hasan fan, I've literally never even watched a
Fucking called it.
single stream of his, so personally I don't care. But the tendency for people to lose their minds and just make shit up whenever Hasan is involved left me wondering, how did we get here? Ethan Klein, also known as H3H3, is 40 years old. He has a massive following on YouTube, and he's a pretty significant figure in the history of content creation, going back to the early days of React videos.
You know, I read a book a day not to show off. It's, again, about the knowledge.
By the way, he's got a really interesting technique for reading books, and when he says he reads one book a day, well, let's just say...
If you want to understand how strong and how powerful the Hasan bad aura is, especially in the commentary sphere, even a commentary guy who's like going to dissect how stupid these arguments are has to still hedge their positioning by being like, yeah, this guy is bad. You know, I have my own opinions about how bad he is. And that literally always has to go back to champagne socialism. He's a dog abuser, whatever the fuck these guys have like leaned into. It's just, it has to happen. I wish more people would explore whether or not this is inherently contradictory to my worldview at all, you know? That would be, maybe one day we'll get there. One day we're going to get there where people understand that, you know, socialism doesn't mean you can't have nice things, or socialism doesn't mean you can't be successful in any way, shape, or form. It's about unlocking that very same autonomy for all people. Okay?
We will have to redefine the word read.
Have someone else read it for you.
That's awesome. Along with his own content, Ethan's also well known for winning a landmark copyright infringement suit in 2017 filed by Matt Haas, whose video Ethan reacted to. That case was one of the first examples of fair use for React content being successfully argued in court. In 2021, Ethan and Hasan started a podcast together called The Leftovers. It was a political and cultural talk show with a left-leaning slant, and the show was a huge success. Until October of 2023, when a Hamas-led terror attack targeted Israeli citizens. After the attack, Ethan and Hasan went live for an emotional episode discussing the events.
As a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old.
Ethan is an Israeli-American dual citizen and feels passionately about Israeli geopolitics. He's also married to Ela, who was born in Israel and served in the IDF. The Kleins actually even met each other in Israel. His son, on the other hand, is passionately in support of Palestine, and the resulting ideological differences between the two led to some on-air friction following the start of the conflict.
Oh, my timing matters. Let's not be obtuse about this. It's just this one point I'm trying to make. You can't cheer on Hamas, dude.
You know what I said. And on the day of the occupation.
I know you don't, but like we're being a little silly.
In late October of that year, Ethan announced that the Leftovers podcast would go on hiatus.
I do feel like I'm probably going to pause Leftovers for the time being, because you know what I mean. It's just I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And after 61 episodes, the Leftovers podcast never came back. This is when the divide started to form between Ethan and Hasan. Early on, for instance, Ethan would take issue with some things that Hasan's chat was saying about him, and he criticized him for not moderating it more effectively.
Do you care that your chat is calling me racist? Do you make any attempt to modify?
I have not looked at my chat.
Moderate that
I have not looked at my chat at all. But you.
I just opened it. But don't you have moderators? Do you care at all about what your audience says about me?
There's 32,000 people. My feelings were hurt. My feelings were hurt. It's like the first year of Israel's genocide of the Palestinians was literally just about the feelings of people who wanted to defend Israel. Okay? That was all it was. College campuses, my feelings are hurt. Okay? In broad daylight, my feelings are hurt. People were like desperate to try to get the fucking word out, to show the truth about what Israel was doing to the Palestinians and what Israel had done to the Palestinians. And every conversation was met with a damn. My fucking feelings. This right here. How many fucking YouTubers made videos about this? How many fucking YouTubers who now probably say, oh, free Palestine, fuck Israel, or even far more radical things. How many of them made a video about how I had hurt Ethan Klein's fucking feelings? Every single slop tuber made videos that accrued millions of fucking views at the time. Every single one. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Never let a genocide go to waste. And I was right too. My community was right. I was right. We were right. I was unbelievably gracious, far more than he deserved at the time too. I was so understanding. I was trying to be like, look, I know like you have family members that live in Israel. Like I'm trying to communicate this to you that like you're saying things that people who are pro-Israel say. You centering your feelings in this conversation when people are getting slaughtered by this apartheid state is ridiculous. And it's coming across as ridiculous to people. People in here right now.
I'm just trying to tell you guys how it feels. And I'm fucking shocked that you don't care that people in your chat are saying, who the fuck is this child, cold, arrogant,
Ethan,
as fuck.
I love you, but there's only so much I can do.
How can you be surprised when you're...
To save us time, let's not get too bogged down with specifics.
Yeah. And then people are like, people use that to be like, oh, remember XQC? You got mad at XQC? Yeah, dumbass. I did. Because XQC was farming me for also being right about the fucking gambling situation. I was right about the gambling situation, and he aggressively he aggressively leaned into attacks against me and my community for being right about the gambling situation, but too early, far too early for people's taste. And people went along with it. And to this day still, they fucking aggressively hound my ass. Okay? Same with fucking Ethan. Because for a lot of people, they have baby brains. They can't think of concepts beyond the parasocial feelings that they have for their favorite content creators. Oh, you hurt this content creator's feelings. Fuck you. You hurt that content creator's feelings. Fuck you. Especially when we're talking about like a geopolitical incident, a fucking genocide, the crime of all crimes. Like, who gives a fuck about people's feelings? Stop being babies, man. How can you behave in a tribalistic manner towards your favorite content creator and feel slighted at their behest?
Nutshell, over the course of the next year, the divide between Ethan and Hasan grew larger and larger. Ethan and the H3 community believed that Hasan was promoting extremist.
Is this the guy? Didn't we ban him before? For the record, I don't agree with the champagne socialism criticism. I was just saying I understand why on the surface some people get rubbed the wrong way. I don't think you're bad. Smile. Oh, one day, that's the Mount Everest of socialism. The idea that like even fucking far wealthier people than myself could not genuinely advocate for a better future. I do not believe that. One day other people will also recognize, after more and more prominent figures come out and are advocating for a better path forward, people will start to recognize that they're simply behaving from a cynical perspective. They're being duped into believing that those, even in positions of power, those who have been unbelievably fortunate could also make sure that other people don't have to be as lucky as they are to make ends meet. One day, it will happen.
Potentially dangerous viewpoints, while Hasan and his community believed that Ethan was becoming more Zionistic over time and subtly spreading pro-Israel propaganda. The two of them would exchange jabs for months, with Ethan commonly taking to Instagram to voice his grievances, like attacking Hasan's moderator and smaller creator Frogan for her radical views, and Hasan in turn would occasionally respond on stream.
There's a difference between anti-Semitism and people coming to the assumption that Ethan might be defending Israel a little bit and therefore might have some Zionist opinions because of the past 12 months centering himself as he looks to ban prominent pro-Palestinian voices off the platform with ridiculous smears that they are being anti-Semitic.
While all this is going on, around the end of 2024, Ethan also began discussing a perceived anti-Semitism problem on Twitch. According to Ethan, Hasan and his associates are prime examples of anti-Semitic content being unfairly allowed on the platform, and he called for Dan Clancy, Twitch's CEO, to step down. We'll talk about this part more later, but I did want to note that this is around the same time that Dan Saltman, CEO of Redact, began his campaign against Twitch's perceived anti-Semitism problem. By the start of 2025, tensions had gotten pretty high. To the extent that the H3 show covered politics, their conversation centered more so around Israel and anti-Semitism rather than the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
It feels like where it was during the war and the Holocaust. It's reminiscent of that time.
I've always said, like, I have no idea how the Holocaust could happen. It just makes no sense. And now I see it. I see how it happened.
And Ethan would also regularly...
Yeah, she's right. Just not in the direction that she thinks is the right direction. She's right. I've often wondered how evil could manifest in society to such a degree that people would turn a blind eye to these atrocities. And then I watched the last 3 years unfold. I watched people turn a blind eye to said atrocities. You know? First ever instance of a live streamed Holocaust. It took place. Everyone was aware of it, right? Everyone was made aware of it. Gaza was destroyed.
Take to Instagram to go to war with H3 Snark, a subreddit dedicated to A-logging and talking shit about primarily Ethan and Hila. And in January, Ethan released a content nuke, a 102-minute-long deconstruction of Hasan's content, including further allegations of Hasan and those around him being anti-Semitic and essentially promoting terrorism. After the content nuke, things started to go off the rails. In March, a pair of noteworthy things happened to Ethan. On one occasion, he had a pair of human skulls ordered online and sent to his house. And on another, a CPS call was made to his house after Ethan shared a story on the H3 podcast about his family contracting a parasite.
This morning, we got a visit from Child Protective Services. I told this story on the show a few weeks ago about how when we adopted Olive, she had Giardia. And then Sonny started having diarrhea, so we suspected he might have Giardia. Seeing as that he's an infant, he's crawling around, he's putting everything in his mouth, etc.
Then in June of last year, Ethan revealed that he had registered the content nuke with the U.S. Library of Congress.
I also can't even understand how like any of that got tied back to Denims, myself, Frogan, or any number of different individuals after the fact. I cannot believe how much sympathy he farmed over that, especially because obviously he was wronged in that situation. And I made it very clear at the time. It's like fucking ridiculous. But then he turned around and took all of that sympathy to attack others and falsely fucking blame people, smear people over and over again. What a ridiculous crock of shit that was, dude. Everyone, iDubbbz too, everyone was responsible for CPS.
And that he's filing copyright infringement lawsuits against Frogan, Denims, and Casey Tron, 3 Hassan-adjacent creators who, according to Ethan, reacted to the nuke in a non-transformative way. And that's kind of loosely where we're at. What started as a political disagreement has spiraled into 3 copyright lawsuits, a campaign to financially harm Twitch, and by consequence its creators, and a long, bitter, and kind of pathetic feud, where you will be forced to pick a side. But before you pick a side, while you may feel some sympathy for Ethan because of the very real harassment that he's faced, or maybe you just agree with his takes on Israel or anti-Semitism, we have to make sure we don't forget about the most important thing in the whole situation, which is that when it comes to Ethan's narrative, this is all complete bullshit. If you can look past some of the political disagreement and analyze the Ethan and Hassan conflict in its entirety, it's pretty clear that Ethan is an insecure, neurotic, vindictive liar. And his crusades against Twitch and Hassan and subreddits, these are all just dishonest missions to silence people who are saying things about him that he doesn't like. What's worse is that this clown show is being encouraged and facilitated by a host of hacks and other liars around Ethan that have attached themselves to him, sometimes just to further their own dishonest agendas against Hassan. Now, normally I wouldn't really care that much if a bunch of lying freaks all band together to help each other out with their controversies. That's kind of to be expected. But what elevates my distaste for all this stuff, and what should elevate yours, is that standards of behavior that have long been widely held on the internet are being totally abandoned, all in the name of Hassan bad. Historically, things like lying, harassment, calls to the platform, or abusing copyright would get you absolutely torn to shreds. But when it comes to Ethan and all his yes men, everyone all of a sudden seems to be okay with those things. And it's just because of who's on the other side. Ethan Klein isn't the originator of the mass derangement about Hassan, but his situation has given some of the most annoying drama slop tubers the perfect vehicle to pretend to have political opinions, escalate their grudges, and in the process, smash all standards of behavior for political and commentary creators. So today we're going to recognize some of these creators.
It's true. I mean, it bricked and probably even created a new funnel for right-wing to far-right content creation and right-wing to far-right viewers that created like the next Gamergate, basically. This was before I ever came onto the scene, or when I was at the Young Turks and a smaller content creator that was like largely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, there were a lot of content creators who were doing this by attacking the Young Turks, and they created a funnel. You had the Gamergate era. A lot of people were radicalized and went down the right-wing rabbit hole back then. This is the new rabbit hole. The new rabbit hole is anchored around developing unbelievable levels of enmity towards a designed villain of the internet. And it has made people's standards completely fall apart. No one has any standards anymore. The type of shit that people would normally criticize across the board, the rest of the internet would create this like protective ecosystem, the community would self-police in these sorts of circumstances. If there was a content creator that was like going after people's money, for example, going after their advertisers with like slander, with ridiculous claims, most people would, yes, I said designed, not designated, designed. The reason why I said designed as a figure of enmity is because there should have never been this level of anger and hatred unless all of these guys are super fucking far right. Many of these guys are not even far right. They just position themselves as anti-left. Okay? They position themselves as anti-left. And for the last 7 years at this point, I've just been on the receiving end of a barrage of smears, A-logging, cyber stalking. And that's part of the reason why so many people's opinions of me have been shaped by that. And not only that, but I think a lot of these people, without even realizing, have developed right-wing opinions. There are plenty of these people. There are plenty of people out there who just kind of watch TikToks or watch these clips or watch these drama summaries who would self-identify as liberals, who without realizing think that such a toxic, odious, repulsive figure like myself could never be in favor of a good policy. So they end up thinking like, oh no, everything that he's advocating for, all the candidates that he's advocating for, he's stumping for, they must also be bad. Their only worldview revolves around what these content creators have developed, which is not sincerely held beliefs, not like an actual, moral compass or anything like that, but just whatever the fuck I'm doing, they're against.
For their contributions to this online culture shift. One where truth doesn't matter, there are no bad tactics, only bad targets, and anything goes as long as you win. These are the Weasley Little Liar Awards. Starting with Ethan Klein.
This is a lie.
Yeah, it does not look.
This is a disgusting fucking lie. And here on the H3 show, we tell the truth. And soon we're going to be able to do that. So I'm really very grateful and excited for that. Because I am honest to a fault, Dan. I'll have you know.
Yeah, no, that I'm aware of.
I would never, I don't lie, but some people do lie. Name one thing I've ever lied about. You can't. I'm allergic to lying.
Bro, I'm truthful in every fucking conceivable way. I feel like I'm honest to a fault. I'm not a liar. I don't believe in lying. I would never lie to you. I've never lied. I am not a liar. I feel like I've never lied about anything in my whole career.
I wish you were more of a liar. It would probably save us a...
Being anti-left inherently makes you open to the far right. Yes, and that's precisely what took place. Anti-communism oftentimes doesn't stop at just liberalism. It takes you to weird fascist pivots. This is a smaller version of that, like a more online drama-focused version of that. Because I was presented as the figurehead of all things left by a lot of these people, they didn't even realize, but many of these people that watch these content creators didn't even realize, but they were developing enmity towards the left and the left position of American politics while they were simply trying to stay informed.
When I started researching for this video, I already knew that Ethan had been dishonest about some things throughout his feud with Hasan, but I was a little...
Kilotonics, don't sue me for walking away to piss.
Surprised to learn just how long of a history Ethan has of dishonesty. A very clear and repeated pattern of it, in fact. Now, you'll very rarely catch Ethan in a direct, overt lie. What happens far more commonly is that Ethan will kind of just say things. He makes statements about other people or ongoing situations as though they're a fact, when he has no evidence to be saying the thing that he's saying. For instance, back in 2021, there was this whole falling out between Ethan and his former podcast co-host, Trisha Paytas. During the breakup, Ethan made this tweet where he claimed that Trisha had accused him of sexually harassing her, which it kind of gives off this, like, I'm being falsely Me Too'd kind of vibe, right? But in the video Ethan's responding to, which is this one, Trisha doesn't really say anything like that. This video is pretty much just about Ethan bringing up topics like her sexual assault, medical history, and other things that supposedly triggered her. Trisha responded to Ethan on Twitter by saying she didn't even think he had watched her video, and given how far off he was, it's entirely possible that Ethan just read the title and went nuts. The only time Trisha even remotely approaches suggesting sexual harassment was when she complained that Ethan was sexualizing her beauty products.
None of it felt right. Being sexualized and skincare being sexualized, none of it felt right.
After Ethan watched the video, here's how he responded to that claim.
Did she say I sexually harassed her? No, she didn't say that, but she said I was making everything sexual. I was making her beauty products sexual. I feel like she really tried her app. She tried to ruin my life, my reputation, my business.
And this is what Trisha was referring to.
This is your self-love in a bottle.
Why was that sexual? What? Look at you're like, oh, it was like a money shot. Watch how she squirts this shit.
This is your self-love.
Yeah, also kind of phallic.
What?
You say, Trish, what's the secret? And then you show like a it looks like a cock. What? Balls and cock.
What are you talking about?
Look, 2 balls and a cock. It's like a giant phallus.
Oh my God. It's the products in the thing.
Bro, it's literally a penis. Is there jizz in your makeup?
If I had makeup wipe, I'd take
Is
my
there
makeup off.
semen in your makeup?
Huh? What?
Is there semen in your makeup?
No.
I don't even care that Ethan did this. I mean, yeah, that looks like dick and balls. But Ethan acted so disgusted at the idea that he would do something like that, and said that Trisha must have been trying to ruin his reputation. The irresponsibility of Ethan's reaction is likely what led to many H3 fans believing that Trisha accused him of actual sexual assault, and they might still believe that to this day. You might call what Ethan did here a false accusation.
He's lying.
But while Ethan did acknowledge that Trisha didn't accuse him of sexual harassment, would it really have been that crazy if she had?
Well, a ton of the comments said things like talking about my mom's breasts and asking if I was breastfed because they heard in a previous episode Ethan talking about my mom's breasts in detail.
Her mommy milkers.
Yes, right. Yeah, to quote Ethan, I believe.
So I was hoping you could help me.
I can help you. I'd love to help you, actually. I've actually dreamed of helping you. What happened to your hand, buddy? Jerking off too hard? Is that a masturbation injury? She has tried to penetrate him with a strappy.
Stop. Don't need to bring it up all the time.
Well, not all the time. It's what, my third time since I
Third
learned
time
about it?
in 3 days.
There's this guy, Brad the Bull, who's like railing his wife, but that's neither here nor there. Hassan's the type of dude who watches himself in the mirror when he has sex. That's funny.
Okay, that was weird when you said that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Well, I'm sure, but
It's
it
like
made me uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't like it.
Just a lot of volume. Because when you're eating pussy, you need to make sure that. Oh, you went to Italy for how long?
4 weeks.
You went to Italy. You guys stayed in touch. No strange Italian dick, I'm assuming.
No.
Have you seen your dad naked? Does Ian walk around naked? If you had privacy, would you walk around naked? Butt ass naked? By the way, Anissa reached out. She wants to meet at the Motel 6 tonight at 11.
Excuse me?
Because I'm going to fuck him for her? Because she's the cuck?
You know, the first time that you made the Anissa the cuck joke, it hit really good.
Well,
and I feel like each subsequent one we're getting further and further.
What was wrong with that? I thought
it just sounded weird. Kind of creepy.
Okay, if you're gonna constantly joke around like that with people you know personally, including your own employees, you don't get to react like this when you think one of them might be accusing you of sexual harassment. Anyway, that was just one of what might have been many potential examples of Ethan misrepresenting things during the fallout with his former co-host. But their breakup was a total shit show, and it's possible Trisha isn't the most reliable person either, so maybe you're willing to give Ethan some grace with this one. Understandable. But what about the defamation lawsuit that was filed against Ethan by Ryan Kavanaugh? In 2021, Ethan was sued by Triller, which one of Kavanaugh's companies had a controlling interest in. The lawsuit was related to the H3 podcast, streaming clips from a boxing match between Jake Paul and Ben Askren, which was a pay-per-view event that Triller owned the exclusive rights to. Now, Ethan did admit to pirating the fight in DMs with Philip DeFranco, saying that he didn't want to financially support Jake Paul, who'd been credibly accused of sexual assault. But the lawsuit was specifically for copyright, especially given that Ethan had shown on screen an unlisted link to a full upload of the fight. Ethan objected strongly to this lawsuit, essentially suggesting that it was frivolous and he was being unfairly singled out. One thing he noted was that Triller had been dropping most of their other lawsuits against actually potentially illegal restreaming sites. But most of those sites they didn't have strong evidence against, whereas Ethan broadcast the fight and a link to it on a recorded live stream. Triller also made it known that they would be taking an aggressive approach to suing people who pirated or redistributed their product, and Ethan wasn't the only content creator they pursued to that end. But his frustrations and public statements.
I rewatched your big debate with him recently when you mentioned it on stream, and holy shit, he cried more about his own feelings than I remembered at the time. Lamau, you'd be like, why don't you care about the genocide? Yeah, as people's opinions evolve throughout time on the issue of Israel versus Palestine, I think if you go back and watch the Content Nuke now, or if you go back and watch the debate, you will realize how unserious he was throughout the entire process and how insanely pro-Israel, and therefore, I don't think this is a stretch to say, pro-Israeli genocide of Palestinians he personally designed himself to be. Now, I did not think that societal attitudes would shift this dramatically over such a short period of time, but even when you look back at it, like, even when you look back at it with today's attitude, you will realize, oh my fucking God, this guy is unbearable.
It's about the case led to a series of additional lawsuits between him and Triller, which Ethan Klein chose to respond to by beginning to disparage Ryan Kavanaugh.
Like his biggest, look, I'll tell you this much, okay? The reason why he was able to get away with so much shit smearing for like the first 2 years of Israel's genocide was because most people either didn't know anything about what was going on, had like some residual pro-Israel opinions as a consequence of the way that the mainstream media had presented Israel as a reliable ally for decades prior, or the people that knew a little bit more or had antagonistic positions to Israel were too afraid to say anything because back then, still, when someone called you a fucking anti-Semite, it was over, right? And there are still plenty of content creators who refuse to touch this issue because they either don't know enough or can't hold their own in a debate or a conversation around these issues and are genuinely still terrified of being hit with that cannon of gross accusations and smears. You have to remember that. That's why, if you're wondering why so many fucking content creators remain silent throughout this entire process, that's a big part of the reason. That is a big part of the reason. Because they thought, oh, this is bad. I don't want to touch this because this is Israel-Palestine related. This is politics related. The Sabragate. Like, remember? 30-day bans for content creators, including a Jewish content creator, for Sabragate. Because they did a hummus tier list. And they ranked the different kinds of hummus that was good to shitty. And people sat around, Asmongold, Ethan Klein, Destiny, they all sat around and made sincere pleas to stop the anti-Semitism. The Habibi tier list. Who has the Habibi, not the Sabra tier list, sorry. Who has the Habibi tier list? I fucked it up. There's been so many things that I literally forgot what took place. There's been years and years of this shit. So I apologize. Yes, it was who has the Habibi pass? Okay. And Sabra Hummus was the lowest tier. Ethan claimed that was actually about Jews, that like Jews were the lowest tier. Sabra Hummus is universally recognized as dog shit hummus. Okay. And I cannot believe that created such tremendous controversy.
On the H3 podcast for months on end, Ethan would go live and vent his frustrations with Triller and Kavanaugh dozens of times over the course of the next several months, but the attacking quickly started to veer into pretty weird territory. Ethan became quite fixated on Ryan's ex-wife, for instance, and he'd routinely do bits on the show about her and her new husband, including detailed descriptions of their hypothetical sexual activity.
Yeah, those bans were double the length of Asmongold's ban that Asmongold received for saying Palestinians are from an inferior culture and deserve genocide.
Look how big the bowl is, though, man. Probably plows the shit out of her, dude. Brad fucking rails her hard. Imagine getting railed by that, dude. Your wife is getting railed by a giant fucking Israeli dude with jacked, huge Jewish cock, and your wife loves it. So you stand in the closet and listen as your dick is in a cock cage.
And while we're here, I think it's worth noting that Ryan separated from his ex-wife in 2020, a year before the lawsuit was even filed. So she and her new husband had absolutely nothing to do with it. But Ethan and his community had no hesitation in involving her in their smear campaign against her former husband. And when I say involved, I mean directly. The incessant mentioning of Kavanaugh's ex-wife led H3 fans to start brigading her and her new husband's Instagram page, where they left tons of very weird and hypersexual comments.
I was probably getting 20 to 30,000 death threats. He started telling them to go after my ex-wife, who's my best friend and mother of my child. She was getting death threats. They were just, I mean, it was to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore.
And again, these two were not involved in the lawsuit in any way whatsoever. But not only that, Kavanaugh himself claims to have had almost nothing to do with it personally.
And it went after, I don't know, 5 or 6 sites. I kind of wasn't involved. I just, knew they were doing it. And then one day, someone called me and said, this guy's like just trashing on you on his podcast. I'm like, I've never heard of this guy. Why would he be doing that? And they're like, they say you're suing him. And I'm like, I've never heard of him. Why would I sue him? Needless to say, I kind of ignored it. And then over the next month, they're like, this guy's done like 30 podcasts on it. And then it was like 50.
Ethan and the H3 crew even went so far as making an entire...
By the way, maybe more Pegaslop should be worried, actually. Because Ryan won that. Does this behavior remind you of anybody else? Perhaps someone living in the beautiful nation state of Singapore, the crown jewel of the world? M. Pegasus? More Pegaslop? Just saying. Get the cane out, boys.
Website dedicated to comparing Kavanaugh to convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein.
Our website about Ryan Kavanaugh.
Does Ryan Kavanaugh look like Harvey Weinstein?
Oh, that's the one.
To date, Ryan Kavanaugh has been mentioned on the H3.
Are you still fearful of your life because of Pegasus? Always. Every day. Every day I wake up terrified in a cold sweat, thinking about all of the real threats to my life and safety born out of more Pegaslop and his commentary, which is slanderous, libelous, smears. But yeah, I mean, the hyperfixation is insane, right? Like, what I don't understand is like how people don't recognize that as like someone having a mental health episode.
156 different episodes, many of which came after Ryan retaliated against them by filing a defamation suit against Ethan. That case specifically cited comments that Ethan repeatedly made about Ryan's business operating as a Ponzi scheme, which Ethan sourced from a 2019 article from Variety. The issue there is that Variety had amended this article within 24 hours after it was posted, including a full retraction from the original person who called Ryan's business a Ponzi scheme. Now, it seems like this case was ultimately settled outside of court, but Ethan was forced to issue an on-stream apology after the court rejected his motion to dismiss the case, finding that he had been aware of the retraction, but repeatedly restated the false assertion anyway over the following months.
You're a liar. You lie.
I skipped some of the crazier details about this story, like how Ethan supposedly paid editors to constantly monitor Kavanaugh's Wikipedia page and insert more negative information about him.
They said, I won this lawsuit against the guy who propagated it and who's paying to have all these editors do this. The appeal will be held this summer and he'll have to take it all down. We went to a mediation and he agreed to even do it, which is why I know he I mean, I already knew he controlled it, but he admitted it.
But either way, even if you think Trisha is a crazy person, or
would you say that more Pegasus's videos make you feel unsafe to do business in the great nation of Singapore? Yes. Yes. I am, as many know, I'm a big businessman and I love doing business. I love doing big business deals, especially, you know what I like? I like that Singapore has been a shining beacon of prosperity and a light in an otherwise dark world. Okay? That's what I like about Singapore. When I think about Singapore, I think about straits that numerous oil tankers and numerous commerce flows through. And I think about the multiple ports that the beautiful nation state of Singapore has. Okay? I think about opening all straits, including the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? Singapore comes to me in my dreams. Did you know that? Singapore comes to me in my dreams. I dream of a better future. One where Singapore is the leader of international commerce. And then I wake up and I realize Singapore already is the leader of international commerce and shipping. That's right. But unfortunately, what makes things so sad is that I can never go there. I can never go there and conduct business. And the reason for why is because of one man and one man only. More Pegasus. More Pegasus and his YouTube channel have made it so that the billions of dollars of trade that I would like to conduct in Singapore is one that I have to forego. I close my eyes and I think about Lee Kuan Yew, that brilliant man who also loved Deng Xiaoping. That's what I think about. Yeah. All of these things could be solved if the Singaporean government took action against one of their biggest criminals, more Pegasus. Yeah. What does Singapore like more than anything else? Improving their GDP. How could they do this? If I did business in the nation state of Singapore. One might call it a city state. I call it a nation state. I'm in a suit. That's how you know I'm a businessman who likes conducting big business deals, specifically in the country of Singapore. The most reliable nation state. All of my finances, instead of taking them over to the tax haven of Dubai, I want to take them to Singapore, but I can't because I'm in fear of my life and safety. Something to think about.
Or Ryan Kavanaugh is an asshole. Ethan has still shown that he's willing to misrepresent claims, falsely attribute things to others, and even outright defame people that he doesn't like. This guy...
What is this? Believe it or not, years ago, Pegasus used to make videos not about you all the time. I used to watch him all the time as a kid to the point I made him fan art. Oh my God.
Kind of stuff is a favorite pastime for Ethan. He likes to jump to conclusions and just say shit about people, often with no evidence. He implied or outright suggested that Dan Clancy and Taylor Lorenz were pedophiles for like no reason. He wrongly accused the Wall Street Journal of doctoring photos and then had to walk it back, while he himself has routinely had issues with sharing fake or doctored social media posts and passing them off as real, and he's shown a willingness to contort and misrepresent events in his life whenever it suits his purposes, which is what he's doing now in his war against Reddit, Twitch, and Hasan.
The harassment that me and Eli are receiving is just genuinely unfucking comparable. Like nothing I've ever dealt with. And to the point where I don't know how it's allowed on Reddit. Like an organized harassment campaign spreading across multiple subreddits, targeting
I wonder
like
who he's talking about.
Two specific people. It's so fucked up. And once again, to remind everybody that Reddit has no problem with this community that exists solely to do the most insane, unhinged, unacceptable harassment campaigns you can possibly imagine. On the internet today, people think they can say anything they want about me.
And by the way, her posting this is continuing the defamation and this whole like snark narrative that they're trying to make like mainstream.
And by the way, they're part of the harassment campaign that I can't believe is so big. They're misrepresenting everything I said. They're mischaracterizing, like taking things out of context, fucking, like you guys are part of that harassment campaign, you scumbags.
Ever since the Leftovers podcast ended, Ethan has spent almost 2 years trying to convince the online world that he is the victim of a massive organized harassment campaign, which is being spearheaded by Hassan and his surrounding network of evil harassers, or something like that. This harassment narrative itself is being pushed pretty effectively by Ethan, and he's received quite a lot of support from across the internet. So while he's been aggressively retaliating against his enemies, like his use of the legal system, to many it's understandable, or even justified. But is Ethan's narrative accurate? To answer that, let's go back to the beginning of the Ethan and Hassan feud, back in late 2023. You'll remember from earlier that one of the first major sources of tension between the two was Ethan being upset at things that Hassan's chat was saying about him.
Do you care that your chat is calling me racist? Do you make any attempt to modify?
I have not looked at my chat.
Moderate that
I
at
have
all?
not looked at my chat at all.
The thing with this argument is, first of all, I don't know what Ethan expected Hassan to do about a chat that looked like this. Like, look at this shit. But more importantly, Ethan seems to not understand that you are the only person who is responsible for the things that you say on the internet. It's nobody else's job to protect you if audiences and comment sections have a negative reaction to the things that you're saying. The backlash that Ethan's been getting online from communities like Hassan's, it doesn't just unfairly come from nowhere. It is a direct response to controversial ideas that he and Hila have expressed after the conflict in Gaza started.
The reason why people are saying that is because of the conflations that you made, Ethan. I can't stop people from viewing you a certain way if you're going to make these comparisons that they've heard from actually racist people.
Now, to be fair to Ethan,
which again, right too early, right on the time, totally correct on that. Like, what am I supposed to do when you sound like Ben Shapiro? Of course people are going to go, oh, you're pro-Israel, actually. And he never understood that. This is literally the starting point. His narcissism caused him to refuse to reckon with the reality that his output was why people were reacting to him that way. I wasn't certainly fucking funneling hatred in his direction. As a matter of fact, I actually consistently told my audience, like, he's not your enemy, just shut the fuck up, it's fine, he's just a random content creator, until it became impossible to fucking ignore.
Ethan, he has repeatedly expressed support for Palestine and condemned the actions of Israel during the war.
What is happening in Gaza is disgusting, and it needs to stop immediately.
But the Kleins have also often shown a tendency to couple these general condemnations of Israel with things like flowery praise about the country and how free it is.
What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, how beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people,
or highly incendiary statements about people who were saying free Palestine too closely to October 7th.
When you come out and say free Palestine after they just lost everybody, that's not what you should be saying right now.
And I'm free Palestine too, right? It's just the timing. I know what it is. You're saying I support Hamas. I mean, that's what you're saying. I'm just saying don't cheer for terrorists. I don't think that that's a crazy take. If you think it is, then let's go invite the Iraqi terrorists who are exacting revenge to come to your city block and kill every fucking one you love. If you think Hamas is dope, just remember, you deserve to be burned alive by terrorists and your whole family murdered in front of you.
Ethan's also been criticized for spreading misinformation about important historical events regarding Palestinian suffering, or for uncritically accepting negative stories about their combatants.
H3 promoted the beheaded babies myth extensively, for example, and has not retracted since.
While being overly skeptical or just rejecting negative stories about Israel.
I mean, listen, that's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were raped. I couldn't really find a lot of evidence to back it up.
I understand why Ethan's brain would operate this way, and it's not like there's anything immoral about having a bias. But obviously at a certain point, after Ethan makes enough comments like this, to a lot of people, he's going to start to sound like he's defending Israel a little bit, like kind of reflexively.
They could have held a ceasefire at any point. They could have ended it after a week.
I mean, Hamas could have ended the war anytime too.
How could have Hamas ended the war?
By releasing the hostages?
Hamas offered all the hostages in agreement for Israel not coming into Gaza to defend Israel's actions.
That didn't happen either.
Yes, it did. This type of thing is why people think that Ethan and Hila are running defense for Israel. And there are dozens of examples of this. There's Hila essentially saluting IDF pilots on Instagram after Israel's strike on Iran. Or there's also her referring to former Israeli Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant as a really good guy, a man who is currently wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, including directing attacks on civilians. Nobody made her say that. Nobody made Ethan defend it. But the Kleins seem to want to endlessly make comments on this very controversial subject and expect to never be attacked for the things that they're expressing. They think that because they say the words, "we support Palestine," that the people that criticize them must just hate Jewish people.
He's watching the same clip over and over, retweeting like psychopathic anti-Semites. There's no other explanation for these people being so weirdly obsessed with her.
To a lot of people, Ethan saying genocide is bad is probably not adequate. Genocide being bad is obvious. That's a default position. To them, this situation would be kind of like someone saying rape is bad and then talking about how much they love Bill Cosby.
After people have some of my barbecue sauce, after a while when it kicks in, they get all huggy-buggy.
Jesus. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. The point is that Ethan and Hila are the ones choosing to put this stuff on the internet. Like during the height of what many people consider to be a genocide by Israel, Hila posted on Instagram last February, showing off her new blue Star of David tattoo. You know, like the one on the Israeli flag. Now yes, blue is a traditional color in Judaism, but a lot of that is because of its appearance on the flag of Israel. There are a lot of people that understandably are not going to like an apparent show of support for a country that's been accused of using chemical weapons near civilians or opening fire on people waiting for aid. But here's how Ethan responds to negative comments on Hila's post about her tattoo.
Obsessed with you guys when you only had 15K subs. Glad that's behind me. Enjoy hell. This guy's for real. Joe Coop. Look this guy up. Enjoy hell. He said enjoy hell.
Yeah. No, I mean, they think I'm actually the devil.
Here he is. If anyone, let's see if I know, can identify him at all. Which one's Joe? Let's see. I think it's this guy. Trust me, when I see an anti-Semite, I know I can spot him.
Wow. Spot him from a crowd.
From his perspective, obviously, like, anyone criticizing Israel is peak maximum anti-Semitism, okay? And maximum anti-Semitism deserves stalking, doxing, complete harassment. Like, this is the ADL method, okay? This is the ADL method. So for him, it was like anyone that has ever had a negative opinion about me is a vicious anti-Semite, neo-Nazi, and they have to be purged from the internet. They have to be ritualistically harassed, destroyed, deplatformed. We have to call up their fucking business wherever they work, and we have to make sure that they get fired. And they did this, and they continue to do this to everyone, no matter how big or small. They would do this to content creators. They did this to someone like myself as well. Obviously, constant demands of deplatforming, celebration when the federal government actually takes any action towards me. Insane. Yeah, real Coke bird hours, dude.
So I don't know if you guys all know that, but your friend Joe here actually is a fucking giant racist piece of shit. And like he likes to tell Jewish people they're going to hell on Instagram on his public profile. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but certainly anyone who would employ him, or probably even his parents, would be pretty disappointed to see that. Although who knows? Here's his mom. I'm not going to click that for her. I'm not, you know what? Fuck him. This is what you. Here's your mom. I wonder if she knows what you do on social media on your free time. You love your mama. Good thing she's not Jewish, hey Joe? I love it.
And yeah, Ethan's producer cuts away from the Instagram feed there so that Ethan doesn't blast the guy's mom to his thousands of viewers. This clip comes across kind of deranged to me, but it gives you a little bit of a window into how Ethan's mind works. To him, people can't simply be having a response to controversial statements or things they themselves have put out there. It must be because of anti-Semitism or bigotry. And ultimately, I think the reason why Ethan reacts this way is because in reality, he cannot stand being criticized.
There's been a lot of criticism of me of late. There's been a lot of people that have said lots and lots of videos. I have a natural aversion to criticism specifically, which is something that I've been learning about myself through therapy, which I've started recently.
Ethan cannot help himself from reading comment sections, Reddit's, tweets about him. He obsesses over how he's being perceived, and he compulsively responds to almost anybody that's critical of him. And he has a long history of this temperament. As a quick example, there was this call on election night that Ethan had with Philip DeFranco, where Ethan, for like literally no reason, awkwardly tries to force into the conversation how people on the internet just hate him because he's Jewish.
Well, I don't know if you knew this about me, Phil, but I'm Jewish. Yeah, it's pretty controversial, but I could go into detail. Do you want to? I could go into all the details. It sounds like you want to get into it. It sounds like you want to get into it.
No, thank you.
And then immediately after getting off that call, Ethan goes out of his way to pull up Philly's chat and whine about things people are saying about him.
Okay, be good. Yeah. Nothing gets me excited like seeing Philip DeFranco's chat call me El Zionist Nazi, free Palestine. Ethan, you can migrate to Israel.
And finally, when he gets criticized by the crew for killing the vibe of the podcast, this is how he responds.
How the fuck did I kill the mood?
Bruh.
What the fuck did I do?
You killed the mood.
Why? How?
But with your calling Phil and bringing up
that was fucking awesome.
I thought it was a fun call.
Yeah, what the fuck? What's happening? What is this world we're living in? What's happening right now? Tell me how.
I told you.
Tell me how.
I don't have a way to get through to you then.
There's just depressed. That call was awesome.
I didn't feel awesome coming off that call.
Why?
I'm just telling you.
Was that call awesome?
Because it turned into you just complaining about his chat. Everybody, like, they fucking hate you and they're spamming it or whatever.
Ethan's obvious ruminating on criticism shows up in a lot of places. He left Twitter in favor of Instagram, probably because stories don't have comment sections. H3 also seems to often heavily filter or disable comments on episodes that they think might get some pushback. And I've also recently found that the H3 podcast commonly cuts out entire sections of their live streams, even sometimes.
They also fucking ban any and every form of criticism against Ethan from their subreddit. As a matter of fact, it's such a common issue that it literally is responsible for entire communities of former fans. Like, Ethan moderates it personally. Ethan moderates it personally. I'm sure he has like a, you know, moderation team and shit too, but like he moderates it personally. My Reddit, I don't fucking touch. That's why half the time they're shitting on me from the left usually. Saying that I'm a fucking Zionist Israel lover or whatever the fuck. His subreddit he has a strict control over. And he uses his subreddit as a mechanism, as a vehicle of harassment against whoever his enemies are. Okay? Yeah, Okay Buddy's even worse. Okay Buddy cooks my ass even further than r/Hassan.
Way after the fact,
Pikers.
seemingly in response to criticism, which I guess they do have a right to do, but I will say as someone who's currently trying to criticize them, it's pretty fucking irritating. But all this is to say, Ethan isn't a fan of being criticized, at all. And when he started facing a lot more negative scrutiny after October 7th, it seems like he wanted Hassan to exert sweeping control over his entire audience's perception of him. And despite how unrealistic that is, Hassan still tried.
Ethan is not your enemy. You should not yell at Ethan. Ethan is my friend. I think he's an empathetic person. I will always stand by Ethan's ability to empathize and want to learn and want to change his perspective. Changing your perspective on an issue that is like near and dear to your fucking heart is virtually impossible. I will forever have respect for him for doing that on his own. You need to, as a community, also stop fucking ripping into Ethan non-stop.
But it was never quite enough for Ethan.
He genuinely hates you, bro. I know he does. I wish him well regardless.
And eventually, Ethan declared war on all things Hassan, which brought us to where we are now. Now, what Ethan could do is he could stop reflexively defending Israel. He could stop commenting on the issue altogether. Maybe he could reflect on and internalize some of what people are telling him. Or he could change nothing and just accept that some people
Age like milk. Yeah, no, worse age like milk moment of all time. I think my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is my predisposition towards redemption. It's my biggest strength, but nobody ever fucking recognizes it when it's successful because now we have more allies. But when it fails, oh my Lord, when it fucking fails, nobody ever lets it go. I will never stop being charitable to people regardless until someone is shown that they are irredeemable. And I think a lot of people have a very different standard for what it is to be irredeemable. I have a much greater bandwidth for that. Okay. I'm never going to stop being charitable to people because I know for a fact that this community wouldn't be what it is if I stopped doing that, if I engaged in like demands for purity, things of that nature. But, you know, I do recognize it, okay? I do recognize it. I come across as stupid sometimes. I have been played a fool. I know. Aiden Ross, XQC, Ethan Klein. You know, there are plenty of content creators that I have been endlessly charitable to. Hope that I could change them. Hope that I could change their minds. You know? I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing that because I hope that everyone can change their minds one day. I believe that. I sincerely believe that.
People on the internet are going to have a problem with it. But of course, he hasn't done any of these things. Ethan has instead chosen to lie. He's built this myth of a mass harassment campaign against him, and he's using this lie to try to financially harm Twitch, change Reddit policy, and abuse.
Hey, Hassan, does more Pegasus videos of intense bullying and harassment ever cause you not to eat and lose sleep? All the time. Thank you for asking. All the time. Yeah. It's real. All the time. And worst of all, this is a fairly large community of business-minded individuals, as you know. A fairly large community of business-minded individuals who are titans in their own might, in their own right, across numerous sectors. And interestingly enough, most of it revolving around logistics and shipping and ports. And so it's not just about me wanting to no longer do business in the beautiful nation state of Singapore because I'm genuinely fearful for my safety and security, but it's also this entire community designed around shipping, international shipping and commerce, A lot of importers and exporters that also probably feel a sense of reluctance utilizing Singaporean ports as a direct consequence of the insecurity that they feel about more Pegasus's YouTube videos and harassment, mass harassment. Remember, I wear suits, and everyone in my audience also does that as well. And a suit is a sign of someone who is invested in the import-export industry, in the import-export field. Did you say logistics? I'm working out some deals with the Port of Singapore right now. Wow, I didn't realize your stream was so business-minded. Yeah. Yeah. Norway scored a goal? God damn. Yeah, this is Maersk executives. Most of us. Some in the shipping industry, specifically for insurance. Why else would we cover the comings and goings of the Strait of Hormuz so aggressively? Why else would we monitor the situation almost on a daily basis? It's because we, as a community, care about the opening of all straits. We care about the free flow of commerce.
The court system against the people that he holds responsible for his decline in popularity. The three main things that Ethan's been dishonest about are H3 snark, the CPS call, and the copyright lawsuits. Let's start with snark. After the leftovers ended, the growing rift between Ethan and Hassan's communities sparked increased activity on the H3 snark subreddit. For those of you that don't know what snark means, here's a quick overview. Snark communities are online groups dedicated to sharing negative or critical content about a figure that the group is centered around. That's it. They're basically just groups of people who dislike an influencer or a public figure, and they talk shit about them, laugh about them, criticize them. That's all it is. H3 has had their own snark community since early in 2023, but as Ethan's content became more political and as the feud with Hassan began, it gradually started growing in popularity. Now, it should be noted that most of these places, especially on Reddit, have strict rules against crossing the line. They typically moderate against posts that encourage or facilitate harassment, such as doxing, and the ones that don't usually don't last very long on the platform. You can always find psycho people who engage in poor behavior in literally any online community, even fan ones, but this doesn't mean the community itself is an issue. For this reason, as a concept, snark seems mostly harmless. But Ethan doesn't see it this way, and even since before the leftovers ended, Ethan has taken massive issue with his own snark community, and he essentially considers them to be headquarters of the harassment campaign that he believes he's facing.
H3 snark, which is a subreddit dedicated to not even like feedback, like just blatant fucking horrific harassment and like defamation.
So what exactly is Ethan referring to when he talks about this organized harassment and defamation campaign? Honestly, it's a little difficult to say. Ethan's been historically pretty non-specific in his complaints about snark, but he has on occasion pointed out a few hard examples, so let's look at some of those. So here's a post from a little over a year ago, speculating that Teddy Fresh, the Klein's clothing brand, potentially plagiarized the design of a new release, because in addition to the visual similarities, the senior designer for Teddy Fresh previously liked the post from the designer they're alleged to have stolen from. Here's Ethan talking about this post on stream.
On the snark subreddit, the top post right now is dedicated to identifying and harassing non-public Teddy Fresh employees. We have no recourse. Like, this is not okay what's happening. I don't know how Reddit allows this. I really don't. It's fucking sickening.
Okay, so Ethan claims this post is dedicated to identifying and harassing non-public Teddy Fresh employees. But the problem is this person did have senior designer at Teddy Fresh in their public Instagram bio. Teddy Fresh also routinely posts about their designers, including their names, in their own Instagram posts. And Klein has posted this person on her own YouTube channel, including naming them and introducing them as a designer at Teddy Fresh.
Vlog, I'm Sean, I'm resident senior designer of Teddy Fresh.
The H3 crew seemed to be under the impression that this post was a dox, by the way, because the document they compiled on it was titled Snark Dox. But based on what I can see, this poster wasn't trying to identify anybody. Motherfucker, you guys are the ones that identified them.
It's not a lie, if you believe it.
And furthermore, Ethan is shocked that Reddit allows this post, calling it targeted harassment. But how exactly is an accusation of wrongdoing by itself harassment? There's no call to action, there's no threat, there's no invasion of privacy. It's literally just a few photos and evidence for their claim. Surely Ethan doesn't consider it to be harassment to accuse somebody of plagiarism, right? There's this video, apparently by a former H3 snark moderator, supposedly exposing the harassment the community engages in. And some of the examples they list are like, just listen.
The snarkers would even...
If any of you are currently regularly posting or consuming a community that's based around negative interest in something, it's unhealthy. Being obsessed with things is fine. Being negatively obsessed with things you don't like is one of the worst things you could do for your mental health. Yes. For example, this community is positively obsessed with shipping and shipping routes, specifically around Singapore. This community is obsessed with logistics. This community is obsessed with commerce, free flow, and free trade all across the planet. Okay? And as a community obsessed with the Singaporean ports, we hate what More Pegasus has done to tarnish the good reputation of the beautiful nation state of Singapore. Just saying.
often post drawings of crew members for the purpose of everyone else in the live chat to make fun of them. But the thing that stuck out to me from the times I was looking at the H3 Snark live chat is that they really hate Zach. Whenever Zach was on screen, the H3 Snark chat would go crazy and comment about how ugly Zach is.
Drawings? People calling Zach ugly? Oh my god, we need to do something about this. Oh, and by the way, Ethan fully endorses this video.
An ex-snarker made a video about the Snark subreddit that I thought was wonderful. This all took place on Reddit's platform. They have a live chat feature that during every show they would open up, or they would engage in targeted, relentless harassment against all of us. I'm very grateful to this person. People don't understand the forces that I'm dealing with, of how fucking disgustingly evil these people are.
So look, if you scroll through the H3 Snark page, you'll see posts that are making fun of things Ethan has said, sometimes clipping something from a recent stream. Here's a post just sharing something Hassan said about Ethan. This subreddit is like 99% just posts like this. So I'm not saying there's never been a post here that could qualify as harassment, but if for Ethan things like laughing at drawings does qualify, it makes me seriously question his judgment of the severity of what's happening here. Moving on, another part of Ethan's claim is that this community is defaming him and his business, and Ethan really doesn't like defamation.
This is defamation, right? No, defamation. I'm literally going to sue you for defamation. Uh-oh.
But this part is even harder to evaluate, because Ethan is even less specific about the defamation. He tends to just generally kind of whine about defamation and slander, and rarely, if ever, provides any specific examples of it.
These are like 3 huge fucking communities that are posting about me and Ela every fucking day. Fucking relentless slander, straight up lies, defamation.
One of the only times I could find him providing actual evidence was this infamous Ramadan post, which contained a lie that the H3H3 subreddit was removing posts celebrating Ramadan. Ethan was understandably pretty upset about this, but when you look into what actually happened here, it seems likely that this example of defamation just doesn't really mean much of anything. According to the moderators of the subreddit, the post was originally made by like a rogue mod on an alt account, and once they found out that it was false, they deleted the post, demodded the user, and updated their rules to have higher standards. So one user on a popular forum maliciously spread misinformation, was caught, got punished, and then the owners took steps to try to prevent it from happening again. So this just isn't indicative of any systemic or coordinated misconduct. This is just called the internet. Plus, it seems like this should be how you'd want a place like this to be moderated. They have rules against misinformation, and they do enforce them. Like if you go search through the subreddit, you can find hundreds of examples of the moderators telling the subreddit not to contact sponsors, to respect people's privacy, marking certain posts as being satirical.
I'm an executive chef, and I was thinking about opening up 10 restaurants in Singapore, but after everything you've been saying, I don't know if I should anymore. Well, I still love Singapore. I'm just, it feels like more Pegasus is just showing a very different side to Singapore, you know? Don't give up on Singapore's beauty. And don't give up on serving as an executive chef the great people of Singapore minus more Pegasus, right? Misinformation, incorrect data entry like that boils my logistics industry blood.
All things that point to them actually trying to prevent harassment and defamation. Like with any popular forum, some stuff might occasionally slip through the cracks, but this stuff would be outliers. It's quite obviously not the purpose of this community. So Ethan's claims that this place exists solely to conduct an organized harassment campaign against him are at best flimsy, and at worst, kind of bullshit. But there's one more thing Ethan has shown, and it's this screenshot he shared from Discord of supposedly a moderator of H3 Snark sharing the address of the H3 and Teddy Fresh studios. Now, if this is exactly how Ethan describes it, it could be an issue. But this looks like a private DM, not a public Discord server. There's no information about who this was sent to, whether this person is still a moderator, whether they even ever were a moderator, or whether any of the other mods knew about it. So I kind of just don't really know what I'm looking at here. Without more context, this just isn't evidence of organized, coordinated harassment. This could be nothing more than just one person doing something wrong, which again can happen in any large online community. So look, my perception of what's happened here is that Ethan conflates harassment with unwanted negative scrutiny, and he might even conflate slander with things he disagrees with. 99.9% of the users here are just talking, making jokes, criticizing him, voicing their opinions. Some of them may say things that are untrue or even cruel, but dude, that's what the internet is. H3 has millions of subscribers. At a certain point, you can't control what everyone says or thinks about you. So as far as I can tell, Ethan just isn't the victim of anything unique here, but obviously he disagrees.
Bro, why do you keep talking about Pegasus in Singapore? I literally never heard of this guy. Ha ha ha. Can someone explain, please, why Hassan keeps talking? We're joking. It's called memes, okay? That's what we're doing. But what's not a meme is our love for shipping, commerce, and logistics. What's not a meme and not a joke is art. Look at the suit. What does the suit tell you? That I'm a business guy. Okay? I'm a numbers guy, and I really like doing numbers, specifically in the beautiful nation state of Singapore. Okay? Are you confused about the passion that this community has for doing business in Singapore and its ports? and the opening of straits and making sure that free flow of commerce transits through the Strait of Malacca, for example, because that's a fixture of this community. I mean, this is a community that is designed around trade routes.
And his response to these insults, to criticism, and to this one lie that was ultimately removed was declaring all-out war on Reddit and H3 Snark.
And it's just fucking disgusting. Like, Reddit, you are disgusting. Fucking shame on you. The CEO, the officers, everybody.
Yeah, he also, didn't he also want to do like a Laura Loomer style situation where he was going to like lock himself up to chain himself to like Reddit headquarters or something, in the same way that like Laura Loomer chained herself to the door of Twitter?
Everybody who's in this company is 100% liable for everything that's happening on all these Snark subreddits.
He started by going to Reddit and complaining about Snark numerous times, demanding that they take action against the subreddit.
And I've tried to notify Reddit, and they just don't fucking care. We reported it, and we were trying to contact someone at Reddit. I've gone through every avenue possible with Reddit. If this doesn't get taken care of, then I'm going to have to start holding Reddit accountable.
Which led to quite a lot of whining from Ethan when they chose not to do anything.
The whole Snark phenomenon is so pathetic that Reddit allows this shit to continue. This is another reason why I just cannot fucking believe that Reddit doesn't react. It's so fucked up that Reddit allows this and doesn't do anything.
But Ethan did eventually hear back from Reddit, although he wasn't very pleased with what they had to say.
We got a hold of someone at Reddit, and we told them about all the Snark stuff. It was a comms person, and they got back to us, and they said, well, you guys are harassing people also. You're...
That was the funniest thing. Dude, Reddit was like, dog, have you seen your subreddit? It's literally entirely dedicated to this fucking one person. Or not even one person, but like everyone that has ever, in your mind, wronged you in any capacity. Any criticisms of you any criticism of you turns into this subreddit being utilized as a vehicle of endless harassment and enmity.
Harassing people, and they're harassing people, so I don't see the difference between your community and their community.
And while it would be really funny if Reddit actually said that to him, I highly doubt that that's what Ethan was told. I imagine he was told something more like, this community is totally fine. They're not doing anything different than your own is. But this is where things started getting a little weird. Ethan didn't just disagree with Reddit's decisions. He started claiming that Reddit was conspiring against him to protect Snark.
I believe that Reddit is colluding with the moderators of this Snark community and actively protecting it.
And to his credit, I'm sure that Ethan really was on the verge of cracking this thing wide open.
Twitch has been ideologically captured, and the people in that company are using their terms of service selectively as a form of activism. And I feel that I'm getting the same treatment now from Reddit. Did you know that these two companies in San Francisco, their headquarters are blocks away from each other? It's just interesting. It's just interesting because it shows there's some culture happening in this tech space. I think that these people are all very similar minded. I think that's what this is telling me.
Right. But somehow this airtight narrative didn't gain quite as much traction as Ethan would like, so he started being somewhat openly dishonest about it. For instance, when Adam McIntyre's Snark community got taken down by Reddit, allegedly due to behaviors similar to the H3 Snark page, Ethan took it as proof that Reddit is conspiring against him. But he prefers to just disregard the known fact that Adam's page didn't get removed due to any alleged behaviors, but rather because it was completely unmoderated, whereas H3 Snark has always had active moderators. Ethan is aware of this, by the way, he just chooses to believe something else.
It's hard for him to be honest. He lies a lot. He does.
In fact, there are often pretty decent explanations for why things on Reddit haven't gone Ethan's way, but rather than opening his eyes, everything only leads him to further believe that Reddit leadership must be snarkers themselves. That's right, it's a big Reddit conspiracy to harass Ethan Klein. That is literally what he believes.
I know that it's likely that one of the admins who's being paid by Reddit is participating and protecting it.
Ethan also started claiming that the coordination and organized harassment actually just happens in Discord servers, which is why you won't find it on the subreddit itself.
These fucking freaks that are in a Discord sharing on all these things. These people can sign up without any info of their account. Most of their activities happening on Discord.
And it's kind of weird that he'd go that route anyway, because somehow Reddit is complicit in something truly horrific here, but simultaneously none of it is actually happening on Reddit, it's all happening somewhere else. But despite not having very much evidence, Ethan remained incredibly determined to push this harassment narrative. So determined, in fact, that he made the very classy decision to appropriate a woman's suicide to further his agenda against Snark. Michaela Raines, also known as Save a Fox, took her own life back in June of last year, and Ethan, within 24 hours of it being announced, ran to Instagram to claim that Snark was responsible. But Michaela's husband didn't cite her Snark community as contributing to her suicide. He rather said that the criticism Michaela faced was often from people she knew or people from other animal sanctuaries. Michaela's Snark page was pretty inactive, with only 19 total posts in its lifetime. She also, according to her husband, had a long history of being in and out of therapy with depression and various other mental ailments. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible that Michaela's Snark page contributed to her distress, but this was obviously a deeply troubled person, and Ethan parading around her body for his own narrative purposes and chalking it all up to Snark when he can't even know that to be true is kind of a disgusting.
Also, when he himself is a contributor to what he claims he's victim to. Like, we've already established, Reddit already established that he operates a Snark subreddit, right? So it would have been nice for him to maybe, realize his behavior was probably leading people down a similar path.
Thing to do. But despite these lies and conspiracy theories and his appeals to Reddit, Ethan was unsuccessful in getting H3 Snark removed.
This is not normal. This is fucking insane, unhinged behavior that is being explicitly sanctioned by Reddit continually. It's nauseating. It's so fucked up.
So he decided to escalate his